أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum jamiyan, and thank you very much for joining us for session number 3 of this our course. As usual, let's start with Surah Al-Fatiha. For so many people who are losing their lives on account of this genocide and crazy war, people are just being killed there. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. It's good to see that we are on time, so inshallah we'll also try to complete on time. A dua which is for the month of Rajab, as he said, but it is because of its content, certain duas can be generic, no. So we thought that I did not change, although the month of Shaban has come. Maybe perhaps next week I can bring some passages from either Munajat al-Shabaniya or Salawat al-Shabaniya. In any case, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, يا من يملك حوائج السائلين ويعلم ضمير الصامتين لكل مسألة منك سمع حاضر وجواب عتيد اللهم وموعدك الصادق ويهديك الفاضلة ورحمتك الواسعة وأسألك أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تقضي حوائجي للدنيا والآخرة إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد. So you can see that Imam first of all talks about the qualities of Allah, the one who possesses the needs of the questioners and knows what is in the hearts of people who remain silent. And then, of course, every question which is asked is readily heard and provided with an answer. And the promises of Allah are true, and giving is generous, and His mercy is wide. And then, of course, before asking for His own need, He says, Allahumma fas'aluka an. Because of that, now I just pray to you that bless Muhammad and his family. And then, of course, this is the question, dua, and also I ask you to just fulfill, my desires, my hajat of this world and the hereafter. So it's a beautiful dua, can be recited anytime. So last week we looked at 2 verses, and then we also gave some of the lessons, the past lessons. I'm doing these things. I said that in our group, we have some few from group about level 4, and there are a few from level 6. So this is like a revision, as well as also those who are from level 4, also they can benefit from it. So this is an ayat which continues, because we did ayat number 183 and 184 and 185. 3 verses we did. 83 was the common ayat, right? So this is still continuing. This passage from 183 all the way to 187 is a passage in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is considered as one ruku. And that ruku talks about about Ramadan. Yes, Sister Sabira?
Assalamu alaikum. Are you sharing your slide, because I can't see?
Yes. Can you others see it?
Yes.
Can you see the slides?
Yeah, I can see the slides.
Yeah. So you have to exit, Sister Sabira, and come back, no?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Thanks.
So you have to exit and perhaps join again. Maybe when you join at that time, it was not showing, then still stays because you joined earlier. Okay. Over to Muhammad, can you see Ali? All of you can see the slides?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good. So the verses from 183 all the way to 187 in Surah Al-Baqarah, if you see, is one ruku, one section, and this has to do with, talks about Ramadan. Interestingly, subhanallah, after the 3 verses which we discussed earlier, this is verse number 186. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاءِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. quite interesting that Allah talks about fasting and the rules of fasting. And if somebody, for example, is sick, then or somebody is traveling, then he has to then repay other days. If somebody has difficulty in fasting, then they have to fidya, right? That's what we did earlier. But now, suddenly Allah switches to dua. You know, if my servants ask you about me, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي, when my servants ask you about me, فَإِنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيب, that indeed I am near. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي, I respond to the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So let them respond to me. That means to be my, or let them respond to my, become my obedient and believe in me, that may be rightly guided. So we are supposed to respond to what Allah has asked. For example, Allah says that this is haram, we follow, this is wajib, we do it. So we're responding to Allah's command. So let them respond to me and also believe in me. That means if Allah promises us reward is going to be there. If promises punishment is going to be there. He has promised, for example, that there is akhirat, we have to believe. If there is Jannat, Jahannam, there is Hisab, all those things. So we have to believe in him. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ, so that they may be guided, rightly guided. So this is an ayat, interestingly, and this is why you will see the Ahlul Bayt, whom we follow, they have taught us a lot of du'as in the month of Ramadan. Lot of du'as, right? And that is why you can see in our masajid, in our centers, in the Shia centers, we have, for example, du'as, and then depending what of the time, for example, in this year, because namaz is earlier, so there'll be namaz, and then there'll be iftar, and then there'll be du'as and lectures, all those things. But we have dua as a very important part of our every night program. You go wherever you want, right? This is not found in masajid of our brother, Sunni brother. For them, for example, they have salat and iftar, and then immediately they'll go to watch Taraweeh. Maybe there'll be short du'as here and there, but actually long du'as is recite, which are taught by the Ahlul Bayt or Prophet. They don't have this kind of concept. I don't know how many of you attended. Maybe sometimes you may go there to get just observe yourself what's happening. So we actually believe that dua is a very important part of Ramadan, a very, very important part. And not only that we believe, and not that only Ahlul Bayt have told us, but you can see within this passage, if you open the Quran, for example, this will be a passage. Let me just grab the Quran which we are using. I'll just let me bring that Quran, although I have another Quran on my table. So if you take Kuli Karai's translation, right, and if you open these verses, so if you see, go to Surah number 2, ayat 183. Yeah. Okay, so you can see from 183 is now a new section all the way till he does all the way till 194, right? As a section, because that is a different section it starts. So it's a ruku on its own. So here, after within this section, Allah brings the discussion of dua. And that's why for us, the Shias, dua is a very important part of Ramadan program, or Ramadan ibadat. Ibadat in Ramadan, besides fasting and prayers and charity, giving in charity, inviting others. For example, for iftar, dua is a very important part. And I'm not just now, because we are doing Quranic Arabic, so I don't want to just get diverted. But keeping in mind that dua is important, if you are invited, or if you invite somebody at your home for iftar, make sure that dua is not missed out. In other words, for example, what you can do, you invite somebody, I'm sure namaz is being said, then the iftar is being given, right? then after iftar, before you serve dessert, make sure the dua is recited. Some of the duas which are there are recited there. Because I'll tell you one thing, people are busy, right, in their life. So if I invite you at my place, it's a weekday, you came out of respect, or because you're a friend, or you're a relative, or because you're a neighbor, you came, right? So, and then, of course, we said namaz together. Oh, no, and then we had what iftar. Now, and then we had, just talking and discussing whatever. You leave home 10:30, 11, for example, to go back to you're already tired, right? Next day you're going to work. So that dua will be left out. That should not be the practice. It's very important that if you have decided to have iftar at your place, dua should be part of the program. No, even if it's a short dua, but it should be there. No. So you can see within this passage which talks about Ramadan, Allah interjects by bringing this ayat. And now we come to the Arabic part, okay? وَإِذَا. So wow is a conjugation, means and. وَإِذَا. إِذَا means when or if, no? وَإِذَا, or when, or when and when, or when if, no, or and if, no? And so إِذَا can be if or when. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ. Sa'ala is a verb. Sa'ala is to ask. Sa'il is the asker. The beggar is known as Sa'il. Ban ke Sa'il, we can see also in Qasida, right? Ban ke Sa'il out, it just come to you as a beggar. No? So Sa'ala is to ask. Sa'il is the questioner or a beggar. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ. When, O Prophet, he asks, when my servants ask, sa'alaka ibadi, when my servants ask you, so sa'alaka ask you. Here ka is referring to Rasulullah. Keep in mind that in Quran, whenever there is Allah is addressing and the addressee is singular, masculine, right? In most cases, Allah is talking to Rasulullah because Quran was first revealed to Rasulullah and then he passed it over to Muslims. Okay. So, إِذَا سَأَلَكَ, O Muhammad, when my servants ask you, anni, about me, an is about, so anni, about me. For inni, for inni, then indeed I'm near, no? For inni kareeb, indeed I'm near. Ujibu da'wat da idha dani. Ujibu is from Jaba. Jawab, for example, we say sawal and jawab. Sawal is sa'ala. Sawal means question, jawab is answer, right? So ujibu is the same root word. Jaba means what? To reply. Ujibu, I respond. Ujibu da'wat da'i. Da'wa is a call or invitation. For example, we discussed about earlier. If I, invite you, Urdu they say, दावत में शिकल फरमाइए मैंने आपको दावत दी हुई है so we can say मैंने आपको दावत दी है I've given you invitation. So dawat is invitation. ujibu dawat ad-da'i. Allah responds to the call of a caller, or the invitation of a caller. إذا دعاني, when he calls upon me, دعاني. فليستجيبوا لي. So let them respond to me. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Same, we can see subhanallah, beauty. This same root word, ajibu, yastajibu, same. It's the same root word, ajaba. No? فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Let them respond to me. وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا, and believe in me. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So perhaps that they may be rightly guided. So this is a translation. We are not just now doing tafsir or anything. We'll come into the only level. So wa is a conjugation, idha is particle. And when? Sa'alaka. Sa'alaka is a verb in third person, masculine singular, attached to the pronoun ka. Sa'alaka, ask you. Sa'alaka. Sa'alani, that means ask me. Somebody asked me, Sa'alani. Sa'alaka, ask you. No? Here, of course, referring to the Holy Prophet. In many cases, when the Quran is addressing a masculine individual, it refers to Allah, talking directly to his beloved Muhammad, directly. So there's a direct communication with Allah, from Allah to Rasulullah. Okay, keep in mind, and this happens often in Quran. You have to just notice, as I said, that one of the idea that we are doing this sentences and this thing. So when you recite Quran, this inshallah Ramadan, you can observe this kind of things. Okay, ibadi. So abdun is singular. Abd means servant. It also means slave, but it also means the worshipper. Because why there is this different meanings? Because Abd is the one who serves. So we serve Allah. One way of serving Allah is by worshiping Him. Okay. The connection between Allah and us, between Allah and His creature, is that of a ma'bud and abid, the one who is worshipped and worshipper. So Allah is worship, ma'bud, and we are abidin, we are worshippers. Okay, so this is what ibadi means. Ibad is a plural of abd. Ibad. Ibadi means my servants. Ibadi. Anni, about me. An is about, is preposition, and then there is a pronoun ya, first person. For inni, then you know that indeed inna is a particle. Inni, surely, in fact. For inni, karib. I'm indeed karib. So it's a very beautiful passage of Quran. You should memorize this particular this passage. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Whenever you are in difficulty, you are reading dua, recall this ayat. Talk to Allah in your own language. That, Ya Allah, you have promised, you have said in the Quran that if I ask you, if I call upon you, then you are, if I ask about you, then you are near. Here I am. I am in your presence. I'm asking this. Ujibu da'wat ad-da'i. Ujibu is not only a verb, but it's a present tense. It's a fa'lul mudari. In other words, Allah immediately responds to that. Now, I know it's a discussion on its own, that why sometimes the dua are not answered even after 1 month or after 1 year. That is a discussion on its own. We will you can check. There are so many scholars who discuss about it. There are also this. But just now, it literally means that I respond. Ujibu. That means I respond immediately. Ujibu da'awat ad-da'i. I respond to the invocation or the dua. Fadai, a supplicant. Iza da'ani, when he calls upon. Again, da'a. So you can see, subhanallah, see the beauty of, right? The word da'wa, da'i, and da'a. All these are from the same root word. To call upon, da'a. So iza da'ani. Da'a is the root, this is the verb, da'a. Dal, ain, alif, da'a. This is the verb, da'a. So da'ani, he calls upon me. Ad-da'i is the one who calls. Da'wa is the invitation or the calling. So ujibu da'wat ad-da'i iza da'ani. So you can see, subhanallah, the way, for example, here is, what ujibu is there, da'wat da'i, and then, for example, here is ujibu, and then again, falyastajibu. You can see the words are repeated here, which is beautiful how, for example, it has been composed. Ujibu da'wat ad-da'i iza da'ani. And our scholars say that the fact that Allah says, إِذَا دَعَانِي, Allah knows your and my needs, right? Why should I ask Him? People say. I should ask somebody who doesn't know. But if God knows me, like for example, let's say that if you are a parent who is kind, if you know that what your son or your daughter needs, a kind parent will not wait until the son or the daughter asks, right? We will ourselves go forward and give. Why should we ask Allah, who is kind and merciful? He knows my need, right? Because you can see Allah says, Iza da'ani. Keep in mind that Allah loves, Allah likes our sitting as a humble servant, raising our hands in kunut or in dua and asking. Allah prefers. It shows that we have that kind of communication. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that Allah does not respond to what dua if you don't ask. In Rajab, we read in the dua, right? Yaman al-Jul, whereby Allah gives to someone who asks, but someone also does not ask, right? So sometimes He also fulfills our dua even when we're not asked for it, because that is the kindness of Allah. But as etiquette, as servants of Allah, especially in the month of Ramadan, we want to be humble as much as possible and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that relation should be there, that we should sit ourselves in the presence of Allah and ask. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. So let them respond to me. وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So you can see ibad here is anni is made up of preposition an attached to the first person proper. Okay, and then we go to the next slide. No, it's composed of no. I forgot to add here. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي is composed of conjugation for particle inna. Inni. So here the word inni is missing. Okay, so I should have added here. There should be a fa'inni. Fa'inni is composed of conjugation for particle inna and the first person here. Okay, fa'inni. Ujibu is a mudare. Well, in the first person singular, referring to Allah. Okay, the question is, how do you know that? How do we know that it refers to Allah? Anybody would like to answer? I respond to the call. I respond to the call of the supplicant when he calls upon me. How do we know that this I refers to Allah? Yes.
Is it in the first person?
Okay, the first person, but the first person could be, how do we know it's Allah? Yes, you're right, it's first person. But how do we know that it is Allah?
Because just before that, just before that word, he mentioned inni, right? Inni is I.
Yeah,
I respond.
yeah. But how do that I here, I refers to Allah? But indeed, I am, how do we know that it refers to Allah? It's a very simple question. Because we
of the
believe that
inni.
Quran, who is the author of Quran? Right? Allah, right? So Allah is, when somebody is talking in this Quran, in this fashion, is the author of the Quran. That means Allah, right? So since Allah is the one, no? إِذَا سَأَلَكَ ibadi, when my servants ask you, so ask you about me, this me, all this refers to Allah because this is in the Quran, and as we know that Quran comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? So we see because it refers to Allah because Allah is talking in the first person directly to the Prophet. Keep in mind, this is the beauty. Quran is, although it was revealed centuries ago, but the way it addresses, the way it talks, is quite lively, like it's a living thing, no? Allah did not only talk to Prophet at that time, but even today, he's telling us, Ujibu da'wat, that he's telling you and me that in Ramadan or even after namaz, any day when you sit and start praying, Allah is there. He responds to your call. No, da'wat al-da'i. Da'wat al-da'i is mudaf ilayh. Caller of the call. Da'wat al-da'i. Remember we said that if there is ta marbuta, it's always a noun, right? And when there's alif lam, is also a noun. So both these are noun, right? This dawa and both are nouns. Because only nouns carry ta marbuta, only nouns carry alif lam, right? So da'wat dai is caller of the supplicant, or the invocation of the supplicant, right? Call of the caller, da'wat dai. The mudaf ilayh. Question, why is dawa in accusative form? Don't worry even if it's wrong. Please try to attempt to answer.
Is it because it's preceded by a verb?
Because, sorry?
Because of the word before it? Word?
Yeah, but why it is accusative?
Object, subject.
Why it's not dawatu, it's dawata? Why is there is fatha on it? Anybody?
Is it because it's mudaf?
Because it is
Mudaf?
mudaf has to be an accusative. Mudaf can be, for example, also, let's say Kitabullahi. There is also nominative. Kitabullah, book of Allah. Baytullahi, house of Allah. Why it is da'wat al-da'i? Why it is accusative, not nominative? Look at the ayat. Let's go back to the ayat and see if you can decipher. Ujibu da'wat al-da'i iza da'ani. What is dawah here? What kind of speech?
So because it's an object?
Asant, yeah, it's object, right? Ujibu, I respond to the call. So it is an object, right? I here is Allah. Ujibu is a verb. I respond. So Allah is the responder, is the subject here. And then, of course, the object is dawah. That means the call, invocation. Okay. So because it is an object, that's why it is da'wah. Otherwise, it would da'wah to die. Original would be da'wah to die. Like, for example, it's a kitabullahi, baytullahi, no, kalamullahi, no. But this is da'wah to die because it is object. So it's a revision, as I said, that we are trying to revise what we've done in the past. So da'wah to die, and of course, it is now mudaf ilayh. So, of course, mudaf can be nominative, accusative, generative, depending where it is. And of course, dai is genitive. Why? Because it is mudaf ilayh, right? You can see a dai is genitive. Ain has a kasra because it is mudaf ilayh. Because mudaf ilayh is always has a kasra. Kitabullahi, baytullahi. Okay, so da'wat dai. So I want you not only read the Quran, understand the meaning, but the rules which you have done, see how they are at play, how the rules are being applied here in this. No, so it is very clear. Ujibu da'wa. I respond to the call. So I is Allah. Ujibu I is a verb. I respond is a verb, and the subject is Allah. But then object is da'wa. That means the call of a caller or the supplication of a supplicant. No invocation. Da'wat ad-da'i is ad'a. Okay. Da'ani. The verb da'a is to call. This is where the word dua comes. Dua is noun, but da'a is a verb. Da'a, to call. Da'a, right? Da'ani, that means he calls upon me. So it is attached to the word ni. Remember we said, for example, when it comes to what noun, we say kalami, my pen. But if you use the first person pronoun to the verb, we don't only put ya, we put ni. No, katabani. No, katabani, that means he wrote to me. So in the first person, it's a katabani. My friend, or no, my father or my son wrote to me, so katabani, is me. So here it is da'ani, he calls upon me. Now the question is, why is ya missing there? So again, there is a typo. Ya. Why is the letter ya missing in the pronoun? Why is the letter ya missing in the pronoun? It's da'ani. Just there is ya sakin is not there. Why? Let's open the text. So if you see, for example, right in the beginning, right, when we are doing pronouns, so attach pronouns with verbs, lesson 6, right? See, on page 22 at the end, you can see they say, وَاتَّقُونِي يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ إِيَّايَ فَارْهَبُونِي. Then there's a note. In the above example, the ni that follows the verb suffices for the pronoun ni. That means you don't need ya sakin. Okay, ni suffices. Why? Because it is a shorter way. Remember? So it says wattaquni. It is wattaquni. Nun kasra ya sakin. But just kasra is there. Wattaquni. Farhabuni. No, fear me. Or for example, we say lakum dinukum waliyadini. So it is dini, it's just dini, right? Sometimes you find that ya disappears, and instead of that kasra is there. Okay, so this is it. Iza da'ani. Okay, so that means that's why it is that sometimes it suffices. Just kasra suffices in the place of ya sakin. Okay, and it's there on page 22, lesson 6. So this is kind of revision we are doing. So iza da'ani. Okay. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا, imperative verb in third person, preceded by a conjugation, for, therefore, so, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُونِ, let them respond to me. Now, why is imperative li has sukun instead of kasra? Because if you see our lesson, when we did imperative verb, okay, if you go to lesson number, I think 5 in unit 2, yeah. If you go to lesson number 5, not 5, lesson number 4. See lesson number 4, page 104, imperative verbs. What do? We add li. Liyaf'al, he should do. Litaf'al, she should do. Li'af'al, I should do, right? On page 104. Li. But here it is lam sakin, not li. Why? Anybody? The answer is in the same chapter. Anybody? Muhammad, yes?
Is it because the third letter has a dhamma? Is that why?
Just go to page 105. See the note there. These are important. Generally, when the li, should, is mentioned in the Quran, it is preceded by a waw or fa, and the kasra of the li is changed to sakin. Do you see that? On page, do you have the text? All of you are keeping the text in front of you? Page 105. So, for example, they'll give an example. وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبَّهُ, and he should fear Allah. So it was وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. If there was not waw, it would be لَيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ, لِيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. He should fear Allah. But because there is waw, conjugation, وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. So instead of li, it becomes just wal. Original was لِيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. He should fear Allah. يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبَّهُ, his Lord. But before that, there is a conjugation waw. So, and you can see there is a note there. Generally, when the li, which is the should, which brings about imperative, when the letter li, of particle li, is mentioned in the Quran, it is preceded by waw fatha or fa fatha, and the kasra, of the li is changed to sakin. Do you see this thing? So that is why it is. If it was not waw here, if you see the earlier ayat, right? If there was no waw, it would be just what? Liyastajibu li. Liyastajib, they should believe, they should respond to me. But because there is fa, therefore they should respond to me. What? Because Allah is now trying to say that I am so kind. When you call upon me, I respond to you. I am near you. I am your Lord. Now, when I ask you to do something, then you obey me. You can see, فَلْيَسْتَجِبُوا. So this is fa as-sababiyya, therefore, So that's why the translators has used word so, right? For, it can be so or therefore. So let them respond to me. The fact that I respond to you being a God and Lord and the Creator, then you also respond. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي, and also believe me. Usually Allah would have said that you believe me and respond to me, right? Usually. But because, subhanAllah, see the beauty. Usually when, for example, if I tell you that, okay, you believe me and respond to me, because once you believe me, then you respond to me. But if you don't believe in me, then there's no question to respond to me. But here Allah shifts. He says, let them respond to me and believe me. Why does belief come after respond? Actually, belief should have come before that. Because earlier Allah talks about his response. That when you call upon me, I respond to you. So automatically, you should also respond to me. Right? For example, when you send me a message that, I need help. And I responded that, right? Next time now I need the help. So I send you a message. So automatically it becomes now, your duty that now at that time I responded, now you also respond, right? So Allah says, the fact that I respond to you, you also respond to me, right? Then of course, when you they should also believe in me, in what I have promised, and all those things. So it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so that's why the same way, this also you can see lam sakin wal yu'minu bi, again because of wow. Here there is fa and here there is wow. Okay, if there was not wow and fa, this both would be liyastajibu li liyu'minu bi, li, but li becomes lam sakin. Okay, if it is preceded by wow. Now of course the reason for this most probably is what it is lighter on the tongue. Because if you say فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي is little heavy on the tongue. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي is lighter. So when you memorize the Quran, when you recite, it becomes also easier. Keep in mind, I have said this thing also in the past, when Allah says that وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ, we have made Quran easy for remembering. One of the reasons is that the way language is, no? The language is such that it becomes easy on the tongue. It's not heavier. Okay, if you try to see, so you can see فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلِيُؤْمِنُوا بِي وَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلِيُؤْمِنُوا is little heavier compared to فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Now it's lighter. Okay, so this is what could be the reason. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So these are some of the things I deliberately have not brought anything new. I was just revising some of the past lessons for us to consider. No, so that's why the letter. Now, of course, only last question. Anybody knows the answer to that? Why is this ayat? What is unique about this verse, which is not found anywhere in the Quran? Yes, Mohammed.
I looked it up actually on Al-Mizan, and it's the only verse in the Quran that has 7 singular pronouns.
First person pronoun.
A first person, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. And that was the correct place to look into. You can see this is the only verse from 236, 6236, I think, yeah, 6,636 verses. This is the only verse whereby the first person pronoun appears 7 times within a verse. And the scholars tell us that is how much Allah loves when a person sits and does dua. Do you see how important dua is? And if dua is so important, how could we miss out in the month of Ramadan, which is the month of worship, right? Of ibadat, of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this is the only verse. Now, we cannot claim this kind, but when Al-Mizan says, when a Mufassir says, he or she has gone through all the verses, we don't claim to have studied all the verses. But of course, for him to write a tafsir, he must have read different tafsir and thought about it and then come. So when he says that, for example, this is the only verse in the Quran, that means it is so. Okay, we have to take his word. No? Yeah, that is unique thing. That is the only verse. And let's look at those first person. Okay, let me show you that. So it is. See, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ ibadi. So ibadi is my servant. Anni, about me. For indeed I am. For inni. So you can see ibadi, this one. Anni 2. For inni 3. Karib, ujibu, I respond. 4, dawat al-da'i idha da'ani, fine. Then 5th one is da'ani, if he calls upon me. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي, then let him respond to me and believe in me. So you can see, this is my servant, about me, indeed I am, I respond. If he calls upon me, then let them respond to me, let them believe in me. Do you see? So me or I, me and I, if you see, there are 7. My, okay, me, I, okay, me, and me. Do you see? If you see this thing, there are 7 first person pronoun. This is the only verse. And thank you, Muhammad, for taking the trouble that after going through the slides, you had looked at them and then you looked also at the tafsir. That is the correct things to do. Thank you. Any questions? about this verse and the rules we have done? Okay, fine. If you don't, so inshallah, next week, if Allah gives us opportunity, we will look at the next verse. Because that also talks about Ramadan. We'll look at 187. So please have a look at earlier, look at that verse and try to see that some of the rules which you have covered so far, how are they, where do they appear in that particular verse? Okay, 187. Whatever you know, don't worry. If you something you don't know, we'll discuss about it, But you can see all these some of the things which we have covered are already there. I didn't have time, otherwise I would have told you that, okay, this is the rule, this is the lesson number, this is the page number. But it takes too much for me, for example, to refer. I know already when I look at the ayat, I can immediately know what the rules are. But for me, for example, look at this ayat and then go back to the text and open the page and write, it is little time consuming. But I can do that also. You can see, find these rules are there. Any questions? Okay. So we then go to our lesson. What I've done last time, we had Nasara. This time I did to Darasa. Darasa is to study. For example, Dars is a lesson, right? To learn, Dars is a lesson. So Darasa is to study or to learn. So Darasa, Darasa, Darasu. Okay, Darasat, Darasata, Darasna, Daras. Sorry, no, it's Daras. Second person. No, so Darasta. Darasta, Darastuma, Darastum. Darasti, Darastuma, Darastunna. Darastu, again, fa. Darastu, Darasna, Darasna. There is some typo. It seems that today, I was not very careful. There are 2-3 typos here today. Inshallah, I will correct them and then we replace it, inshallah, on the website. So this is what past tense conjugation. Okay. Try to use any verb and see if you can form those things, just based on that. Either you write it or you can just do it verbally, for example. This is darasa, kataba, alima, fataha, like this. So this. And then, of course, we already did this last week, still there, fataha. So, fataha is the past tense, to open. Remember, I told you that the only surah which is named in the Quran based on the position is the first surah, Al-Fatiha, the opening. This is the only surah. Based on just where, for example, the middle surah, which is surah number 57, is not named as the middle surah, or the last surah, which is Nas, is known as the last surah. No, but the first surah is known based on its position in the Quran as the opening surah. Okay, so you don't, for example, we don't have the name of Surah Nas as the closing surah. We don't have the Surah Al-Hadid known as the middle surah. It's not. You will not find in any of the Qurans, because it's not named like that. But this is the only surah which is named like that. So, and of course, Fataha, now this is present tense, Fa'il Mudari. Yaftahu, yaftahani, yaftahun. Taftahu, taftahani, yaftahana. Taftahu, taftahani, taftahuna. Taftahina, taftahani. Yeah. So these are, we did last time. You can take any verb and see if you can replace it and and also conjugate in the same way. Yeah. Any questions? Present tense, past, fi'l mudari. When you say fi'l mudari, it's both present and future. Okay, keep in mind. And of course, you discuss about imperative again and again, so I don't repeat here. There are 3 kinds of imperative. We discussed this last one just now, li, right? Second one, li. So falyastajibu li wal yu'minu bi. So that li was this part of this imperative verbs, lesson 4. Okay, so this is imperative of the second person. Okay, and then of course this is the imperative of third person. Okay, yasma liyasma. You can see this is what we did. Yastajib, falyastajibu li, second, third person, and first person. And then, of course, finally, it is prohibition. That is also imperative. That means when you say, don't do this thing, don't close the door, don't come inside. These are all also imperative. These are also orders, but in a prohibition way, not to do it. Any questions? So again, this is the last session whereby we are going to bring these slides, all the way. This slides number, you can see 5, which is past tense. Then slide number 6, which is fi'l mudari. Then slide number 7 is the introduction to all the imperatives. Then slide 8 is imperative of the second person. Slide 9 is imperative of the third person and the first person. And then slide 10 is imperative of prohibition. So these 6 slides which we have been repeating it for the last 3 classes, is because just a revision. Any question, we will not bring it again provided you have any question. Now, of course, those who are from level 4, you have to slightly go back and look at this thing. If you have a question, you can ask, but of course, no, we will not repeat again because this will come again and again. So you have to either listen to the slides or look at the slides, okay? But feel free. Those who are level 4, if you have certain question regarding these things, you can ask in the class, or also you can ask by emailing me. No, inshallah, I'm there to answer. Now we come to the lesson, okay, lesson number 6. So let's go to lesson number 6 because last week we just started and it was time. So now I want to get into detail. I'm glad that at least, subhanAllah, an interesting thing is that a person from grade 4 sent the homework. Although there was only, again, one homework sent, no, but it was sent by somebody from level 4, which was quite interesting. No? Okay, so let's look at this lesson thoroughly. Okay, and then we will look at also the verses. Okay, because last week we could not do that. Okay, so we go now to lesson number 6, which is, if you have the text in front of you, it is page number 109. Okay. Now, interestingly, I don't know why sometimes these authors, they do things which is quite interesting. I wish I can contact her. This lesson, the first part, juicy particles, this should have come earlier, because when she gives these 5 particles, for example, with li, la, lam, lamma, inna, li and la already was covered in lesson 4 and 5. So I'm not sure that why she decided not to bring this thing earlier, but in any case, so this is known as huruful jazima. Now, Arabic is quite interesting language. Sometimes the same thing has 2 words or even more. So sukun or sakin is also known as jazm. Okay. So huruful jazima, harf is a letter. Okay, harf is letter, huruf is letters. So huruful jazima, that means those letters, those letters which bring about jazm in a verb. That verb which is usually is always dhamma. For example, ujibu, right? Ujibu, just now we saw ujibu. Ujibu means what? I respond to. I respond. So ujibu, ma has a dhamma, right? Kataba, he wrote. Yaktubu, right? Ba has a dhamma. Fataha, to open. Yaftahu, ha has a dhamma. Do you see? So always the verb ends with a dhamma, right? The fi'lul mudari ends with a dhamma. But if they are preceded by these particles, li, la, lam, lamma, in, those will change in sakin. Of course, she covered li and la earlier because they also serve as imperative. In this case, li and la are not only those huruful jazima, they are not only those particles bring about sakin, but they serve also as imperative. So, liyaktub, he should write. Liyastajib, they should respond, right? So, and la is also imperative in a prohibition. La taktub, not write. La takum, do not rise, right? So this is also serves as imperative. That's why she used it earlier. But they also have the effect of not only bringing about imperative, but then the last letter of the verb gets sakin, right? If you see earlier in our tables, which we had earlier, see here. See, this is yasma'u. When we added li, we can li yasma'. So li, first of all, means should, is the imperative, but it also impacts by changing dhamma to sakin, li yasma'. No, tasma'u li tasma', asma'u li asma'. Okay, nasma'. So you can see that it brings about sakin. In the same way, for example, la yakhruju, he should not come out. La yakhruj, he shouldn't exit, emerge, he should not come out. So yakhruj, it is, sakin. La takhruj, not come out. So it is not only la which be prohibition, but then also the dumma becomes sakin. Okay. So similarly, even when it comes to lam or lamma or in, if these three particles precede the fi'lul mudare, it will bring about jazm. It will bring about sakin on the last letter of fi'lul mudare. Are you all with me? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yes.
Are you all with me?
Yes.
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 Okay. Please, yeah, because I should not just be talking if you don't understand. Feel free to stop me. No? So again, fi'lul mudare, which is present tense or future tense, the last letter of the verb carries dhamma. Kataba yaktubu, fataha yaftahu, samiya yasma'u. Right? You can see the last letter of the fi'lul mudare always carries dhamma. If they are preceded by any of these five, li or la or lam or lamma or in, then that dhamma will change to sakin, jazm. Okay, so this is why these are known as huruful jazima. No, and of course, the English is jassive, jassive particles. Now it is interesting, as I told you earlier, that the author of our book initially avoided using difficult words like nominative. You'll excuse me, I'm still nursing a cold, so that's why. No, so she avoided using nominative, accusative, genitive, because those are not normal words. But now here she still uses this word "jassive," which we don't use. "Jassive" is never used in our language, right? You and me speak English throughout our life, but we have never used the word "jassive." So it is something which is just a grammatical word. But now here she uses it, interestingly. In any case. So these are known as the jazima particles because they change the dhamma sign of the mudare verbs to sukun, to jazm. Okay. The first two particles were covered in lessons 4 and 5 because they were not only bringing about jazm, but they also served as imperative. One was li for should, other was la for not, prohibition, right? Now comes lam. Lam is used for a forceful negation to indicate the action never happened. For example, if you say that, did Sister Sabera come to the class? So there is an argument, no, she was there, she was not there. Right? We say, so somebody says, no, lam tati. He is sure, or the one who's saying that sure, she did not come. So lam tati, that means she never came. So it is a forceful negation to indicate the action never happened. Lam tati, right? Or was never done. It also changes the mudare to madis, interestingly. So it is the way, for example, li and la bring about not only sakin, but also brings about what imperative. Lam changes mudare to madi. So for example, lam ta'ati, she never came. Ta'ati is a present tense. But because of that lam, we say she never came to the class. She was never there. Okay. So lam ta'ati or lam yati, he never came. No? So lam does not only bring about sakin to the last letter of the mudare verb, but it also changes the verb from mudare to madi. Interesting. Inshallah, we will come to the examples. Okay, we come. Then comes lamma. Lamma, when it precedes a madi, means when. And if it precedes a mudare, it means not yet. So this is like we did qad, right? Remember we did earlier in a lesson, I don't remember which lesson, but we did qad. Qad, for example, qad means if it is with a past tense, no, qad, it means indeed. But qad with the present tense means perhaps, no. So here it is, for example, when lamma is precedes a madi that means a past tense, it means when. But if it precedes a mudare, no, then it means not yet. Okay, again, we will come, inshallah, to the examples when we look at the ayat of Quran. And it comes in. In is placed in the beginning of a conditional sentence and generally followed by two mudare verbs. Okay, so let us look at the verses that will give an idea. Okay. Okay, so let's look. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Here it is. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. See, subhanallah. Lam yalid. Yalidu means to give birth. For example, walad means son, but walad also means a child. Okay, so yalidu means he gave birth. Talidu, she gave birth. Lam yalid, he never begets. He never gives. He never begets a child. Walam yulad, nor was he begotten. So yulad is now same word, but it is passive. So lam yalid, he does not give birth, nor was he given birth, right? So this lam which comes, it brings two kind of changes. One is that yalidu becomes yalid, dal has sakin, and then yalidu, which means he begets, becomes he sorry, not begets, he means he bears, becomes past tense. For example, yalidu means to give birth, to bear a child. Okay, but beget here is a past tense. So lam brings about past tense and also brings sakin on the last word. So yalidu becomes yalid. Lam yalid, he begets not, or he never gave birth. Walam yul, nor was he given birth. Okay, lam. Another example is alam naj'al lahu aynayn. Alam naj'al lahu aynayni. So we can, right? Ja'ala is a verb. Ja'ala, we have done already. For example, ja'ala is a verb. So yaj'alu, ja'ala he makes, yaj'alu he makes, right? Ja'ala he made, yaj'alu he makes. Naj'alu we make. No. So naj'alu is a present tense. It's fi'l mudhari. Ja'ala naj'alu, right? Kataba naktubu. He wrote, we wrote, naktubu. So ja'ala naj'alu. Now before that there is lam. Alam naj'alil aynayn. Alam naj'allahu, alam naj'allahu, alam naj'allahu aynayn. Alam naj'allahu aynayn, right? And have we not made for him a pair of eyes? So it was naj'alu. Because of lam, it became naj'al, number one. And because of lam changes present to past, we say, have we not made? So not have we not made. Allah doesn't say, have we not made, for example, it says in the past, have we not made for him a pair of eyes? No, he makes a pair of eyes, but because of lam, it becomes past tense. Okay? So have we not made for him a pair of eyes? So made, you can see, is a past tense. So have we not make because of lam. So lam brings about two things. One is makes a present tense into past tense, and then changes the dhamma in the last letter to sakin. Alam naj'al lahu aynayn. Of course, here, question now. Do you have the, all of you, do you have the text in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes.
So why there is no sakin on lam? Naj'al. Why lam has no sakin? No, it's just blank.
Is it because the next one is a shadda?
Yeah, so what is the rule here?
Can't have two sakins together.
No. What is the rule here?
It's a tajweed rule.
Yeah,
Don't know
which
the
rule?
name. I
Say
don't know
English.
the
What is the
names.
English word of that? Assimilation, right? Idgham.
Yeah.
It's assimilation. What has happened that no, the lam sakin has been assimilated to a second lam, lahu. Original was alam naj'al lahu. Alam naj'al lahu. But what we say, alam naj'al lahu, that first lam, the sakin of the lam disappears, gets assimilated to the second lam, and then lam takes shadda. So this is idgham. So Muhammadur Rasulullah. It's Muhammadun Rasulullah, but we say Muhammadur Rasulullah, right? It is Aliyun Waliyullah, but we say Aliyun Waliyullah. So in the same way, this is idgham. So it is assimilated. The sakin of first lam has assimilated in the second lam, and the second lam has a shadda now. Okay, so alam naj'allahu. So this is idgham, assimilation. Alam naj'allahu aynain. Have we not made for him a pair of eyes? Lam. Okay. Alam ta'lam anna Allah ya'lamu. Subhanallah. See the beauty of the language, right? This is it. And I hope that you are appreciating your efforts of studying this. No, see how Allah trying to say, did you not know that Allah knows? See how in a translation it looks little does not sound that good. No, it looks repetitive. Did you not know that Allah knows? Right? No, it looks a bit, but in Arabic you can see it's so beautiful. Alam ta'lam anna Allah ya'lam. Don't you know that Allah knows? When I committed sin, and then I realized it was wrong, right? So Allah will say, didn't you know that Allah knew about it? No. You did this wrong, you lied, you stole, all these things. So Alam ta'alam anna Allah ya'lam. Don't you know that Allah knows? And see the first one, subhanallah. See the beauty of the language. Allah wants to use the word ilm, no, number one. Allah wants to use ilm in both the mudhari form. No, ta'alam, no, ya'alam, right? So one is ta'alam, that means you know. Ya'alam, he knows, right? Ta'alamu is second person, present tense. Ta'alamu. Ya'alamu is third person, present tense. Ta'alamu, you know. Ya'alamu, he knows, right? So Allah wants to use both present tense, but at the same time, he wants to convert the first one into a past tense. So he uses what? Lam before that. Do you see? So that's how the beauty comes. Alam ta'alam anna Allah ya'lamu. Didn't you know that Allah knows? So didn't you know is a past tense, right? Didn't you know that Allah knows? So this will happen, for example, on the day of judgment, this will come again and again. That I did this thing, Allah will say, but didn't you know that Allah knows about it? Oh, I just lied because I thought that nobody knows. I just stole because I thought nobody knows. Maybe it will go away. Maybe it was something, People like sometimes have an excuse that I thought that this will not be known. I just know. For example, I give a lecture and then say something wrong, and then I think, oh, who knows about it? It will just pass away. Who knows about it? But Allah will say back and say, Alam ta'alam annallahu ya'lam. Didn't you know that Allah knows? No. Allah knows that you are lying at that time. Allah knows that this will come to you. So it's a beautiful way of saying, Alam ta'alam annallahu ya'lam. See the phrase, how it is. So powerful it is, right? It gives so strong message, and the composition of the words, ta'alamu ya'lamu, right? Just by using the word lam. So do you see how this is the beauty of the language? It's very powerful. That is why even people, the Arabs at that time, you should look at this Khalid bin Walid, right? Khalid bin Walid, his father was a great poet, master of language, right? When he was once listening to Quran, he was so much impressed. He was not yet a Muslim. He was not a Muslim. He was actually enemy, right? Walid bin Mughira was an enemy, right? He was an enemy, an arch enemy of the Prophet, But once Quran was recited, and he was seen being moved by it, fascinated by it. He was mesmerized by that. So other Quraysh, they saw around him that how much Quran was mesmerizing to this person. So they came to him and said that, would you become a Muslim? Because we can see already that you're impressed by the Quran so much, right? Then he says that, give me some time to answer the thing. But he said that I cannot deny that this is something very special. I am master of poetry for so many years. I'll listen to so many poetry, but nothing is like this, like Quran, right? And then, of course, if you get time, you can look at Surah Mudassir, whereby he goes home and tries to think, what should I respond to Quraysh? Before even he responds, Allah reveals the ayat of Quran, which whereby Allah preempts what his intentions was. His intention was that when I go back, and I'll come back and say this thing to Quraysh. But what he was planning, those verses were revealed to the Prophet. So he was even more impressed by that. Now, subhanAllah, that Quran is not only powerful, but there is a being which knows what is happening, right? When you get a chance to look at it, those things. So this is very powerful. Alam ta'lam annallahu ya'lam. As simple as that. Didn't you know that Allah knows about it, right? And the good thing is that the word I use, ya'lam, Allah ya'lam. That means it's the present tense. Allah is always there. He is present, ever present, and He knows what we are doing. If we were to keep that message, the question doesn't come of sinning. We'll not do it. We'll only do sometimes because we become weak. Otherwise, the question doesn't come because Allah knows. Allah is aware, right? He's just present there. So it's very powerful. So that was about lam. Then let us look at other example here. Lamma, as we said, is two meanings. When lamma is followed by a present future tense, it means not yet. No, so, for example, وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُونَ, right? This is Surah Al-Jumu'ah. وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُونَ. Others of them who have not yet joined them, right? This is Surah Jumu'ah is talking about that there are people who are going to accept Islam, but they will not yet join. They will join, right? And then later on, of course, the tafsir says that this refers to the Persians who later on became Muslims and they were so devoted, right? So there are others also who have not yet joined. So not yet, lamma means yalakun, not yet joined. So when lamma is preceding a fi'l mudare, becomes not yet. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. This is Surah Hujurat, whereby Allah is differentiating between the Muslims and Mu'mineen. Now, because the nomads used to come and claim to Prophet that we have become Muslims. We become believers now. So Allah says, no. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. As yet, they are just Muslims. They are just claiming. But the faith has not entered their heart. So, وَلَمَّا يُدْخِلَ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. As yet, the faith has not penetrated into their heart. Yudkhilu, subhanAllah, is again so beautiful, right? That a time should come that a person should have conviction that faith gets inside you. So this is, lamma has not yet entered. So do you see the same lamma, because it is preceded before the mudare, it means what? It means not yet. But on the other hand, because I don't have much time, so I'm going to just go to the next verse. On the other hand, if lamma is preceded for a past tense, then it would mean what? When. Not yet, when. For example, فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا. So when she delivered. So this is Maryam. When she delivered a baby, not Maryam's mother. No. When she delivered a baby girl, so وَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا. When she delivered her. So when Maryam's mother delivered Maryam at that time. So here is wada'a is to deliver, to wada'a. So when she delivered her, at that time here, because lamma is, it becomes when, not yet. When. فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ. When Talut set forth with the armies. فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ. Fasala is just to go forward, right? فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ. When Talut went forth with armies. So falamma here means when, because fasala is a past tense, is a fi'l madi. So if lamma precedes madi, it means when. When lamma precedes mudare, it means not yet. Okay, those are examples. And now we look at in. So in is placed beginning of the conditional sentence, generally followed by two mudare verbs. For example, وَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَوْ لَكُمْ, right? وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَوْ لَكُمْ. So if you are grateful, he is pleased with you. وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَوْ لَكُمْ. So if you are grateful, yardahu lakum. He is pleased with you. So this in is conditional. If you want rida of Allah, if you want Allah to be pleased with you, make sure that you always are grateful. This is very important. I don't want to, again, as I said, divert into, but doing shukr, thanking Allah is very, very important part. Every stage. Just now we are going through very severe cold, right? Weather is changing, quite fluctuating. Suddenly minus, suddenly plus, right? All those things. And what happens, because when there is a positive, we don't dress well, and suddenly become negative, we start cursing the weather. We start cursing that what kind of this thing is. Well, it's not correct. No, just thank Allah. Actually, as far as we are concerned, in olden days, people used to come out wearing always heavy clothes. If it is hot, they were to remove it. For us, at least, we just have to lock the phone. Just open your phone, check what will be the weather expected, and you can just wear accordingly. So thank Allah that we have a facility. We don't have to go out and experience to know it is cold or it is hot, right? Our phone gives us, of course, it's not always right, but most of the time we have an idea, right, that what kind of weather today would be, and we dress accordingly every time, right? Because I have lived in Edmonton, so I learned one thing I learned. Subhanallah, I landed Edmonton on 15th of June, 1987. It is summertime, right? We went there and I just landed and I was told that today is the madrasa picnic day. So come with us. Of course, I being a resident alim there, the first day of my in the community. So I was taken there to the park. It was because madrasa had ended, it was a picnic there. And that day, 15th of June, it snowed. So somebody, person has died, Marhum Muhammad Sindala. No, he was at that time a president of the community, and I was his guest. He said, this is lesson number 1 of Edmonton. Weather is never predicted. Right? Make sure that you are dressed well. So I was new, I did not even dress. It is summertime. Why would I even wear a jacket to go there? Right? So they, of course, some of the people had kept jacket in their cars, but for me, that was not the case. I just landed in that city for the first time, right? So this is it, that, we at least are warned beforehand through the weather, what's happened. So let's try to thank Allah. So you just say, subhanallah, that in tashkuru yardahu lakum. If you are grateful, He is pleased with you. So keep in mind that let's try always to be grateful. There are other also examples on page 112. So please look at them. If you have any questions, you can either email me, or next session when we meet, you can ask me questions regarding the verses which are there on page 112, because we have not covered the verses on page 112. Okay, so all those verses which are on page 112, if you have any questions, if you want to relate to this lesson, let me know. Now, having done that, if only one of you have done what the homework, so the same homework what we put last week will apply. Okay, it's the same thing. So now use the same homework for next week. And if you are deciding to do the homework and send it, please do so by Monday, if possible, because Tuesday I just prepare myself for the class. Even then today you can see, because I had two things to do today important, you can see there were a number of typos, because after preparing the slides, I did not check, I just sent it for posting. Any questions? Any clarifications? Again, thank you very much for being in the class and also being on time. Please try to do this homework. It will help you understand the concept and read the text and everything. A lot of efforts are being put in preparing these slides, so please do take advantage of them, inshallah. Any questions, any clarifications? Thank you very much. It is the very important month of Shaban, also is a holy like Rajab, so please let us remember each other, and also remember people who are suffering in the occupied Palestine, in the West Bank. You can see they're still killing so many people. In Lebanon, people are also suffering. I hope that you have some context to help people in Lebanon after what happened to them. So keep them in mind also, and let's try to show our thanks to Allah by sharing what Allah has given us. No. Wassalamu alaikum tahirin. Allahumma salli ala. Shaq Dafiz.
Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Goodbye.
Jazakallah khair.
Dafiz.
Thank you.
Heavy day, this whole day.